Hi, my name is Stacy Cervenka. I began my career about 20 years ago working in the office of U.S. Senator Sam Brownback of Kansas. I began as an intern in his office one of the summers when I was in college, and it worked out really well. So they said, when you graduate, feel free to apply for a full time position. So when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I called them up and they said, we actually do have a position opening up in about a month.
Can you share a bit about your full-time employment experience?
So I started my career working in the front office. I then moved into the correspondence shop and became a legislative correspondent where I handled the correspondence related to a wide variety of issues that the senator handles. I then became the correspondence director. So I directed all of the legislative correspondence and managed all the mail and email and phone calls that were coming in and out of the office each week. Eventually, I became a legislative assistant where I advised the senator on adoption, foster care, juvenile justice, child protection, Native American issues, disability rights, special education, postal issues, NASA, commercial space, North and South Korea, labor, and I was also our representative on the Senate Special Committee on Aging. So I did that for 5 years, and now I work as the director of the Iowa Department for the Blind. So as a full-time employee, I've generally worked at least 40 hours a week, sometimes much more. When I worked for the senator, there were times when I had to join him for, breakfast with members of the military, and we might work until 8 or 9 p.m. staffing him at a reception or at some award ceremony. So, particularly working for the senator, the days could be very long. And that's actually why a lot of congressional aides are younger and don't have families yet because the hours are so long.
What were some of the benefits of your position?
I got to travel. I actually got to go to South Korea. I got to go inside North Korea, which is something that not a lot of Americans can say. Of course, I traveled extensively throughout the state of Kansas. I traveled to France. I often told people I had once in a lifetime experiences once a week. I got kissed by the lead singer of U2, Bono. I got to meet Angelica Jolie and at the time, Jessica Simpson, who was very big at that moment. I mean, just there were lots of, famous people who had causes that they believed in and that they were advocating for that would come in and out of the office. So that was always kind of exciting. The more tangible benefits of the job, besides the money, were, health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance. You have so many vacation days every year, so many sick days every year. Often jobs have other sort of fringe benefits. The employer might have a deal with some local businesses where you get a discount. Recently, I took my husband and kids to Adventureland here in Des Moines. And as a state of Iowa employee, we got 50% off of our tickets at Adventureland. So there are lots of benefits of working. There's the money, there's the sort of the insurance, but there's also the experiences you get and some of the more fringe benefits.
What supports helped you in this role?
So for me, it was critical when I started my first job with Senator Brownback that I had the alternative skills of blindness or low vision and that I knew what I needed on the job. So I made sure that I had good orientation and mobility skills. I had good technology skills, whatever that means for you, whether that's using magnification or screen reading software. I used Braille on the job, especially when I worked in the front office. I ran a switchboard, and there were maybe 45 some staff members, and so I put in Braille everybody's initials next to their little line button. I also needed to know when I started giving tours of the US Capitol, I needed to know how to learn and be oriented to the Capitol and how to learn the route and how to learn the elements of giving a good tour. And so I took the group training to give a tour, but then I also contacted the Congressional Special Services Office and I asked for my own tour, and they gave me a personalized tour so I could really get the route down and I could really know, what the pictures and what the statues were, because I didn't really have the visual jog of memory that sighted people do to say, okay, here's this statue. I can see it. I'm going to tell you about it, where I had to kind of know what order things were in as far as statues and pictures.
What advice would you give others who are considering this type of employment?
So having those alternative techniques, whatever it is that you use, whether you use low vision techniques or no vision techniques, knowing you need to know how you're going to get things done. Your employer is not going to know. Your employer's job isn't to know how you're going to do things as a blind or low vision person. That's your job. So you need to be able to advocate for whatever technology or whatever additional accommodations you're going to need. Now, for me, that meant advocating for JAWS on my computer. JAWS is a screen reading software that reads everything out loud to me. At that time, I advocated for something that was called Kurzweil. It allowed me to scan printed text into my computer and then read it out loud. So today we often do that with our iPhones. And so anytime I needed technology, I was the one who needed to know what technology I needed and then go to the appropriate person in the office, whether it was the IT person or my supervisor, and advocate for getting that. So a lot of it really is knowing what you need and advocating for that for yourself, whether it's technology, whether that's asking for additional orientation, whether that's saying, okay, it would work better for me if we did it this way. So that's something that's good to begin working on in high school and in college. Speaking with your teachers and talking with them yourself about what you need, because you are going to need to do that once you get a job.